What are you doing today, Jason?
Well, today we are working on the Dragster. This has a 598-inch Nesbitt motor on it, and it's a Chevrolet platform. Every off-season, what you're supposed to do is take it out, freshen it up, whatever it needs. Season ended about a month ago, but we've been too busy to mess with it, so today we are taking the motor out. So we're going to start by taking the headers off, taking this body panel off, taking the hood scoop off, going ahead and getting all the fluids out of it, and it's pretty simple after that to lift the motor straight off the frame rails.
That's coming off pretty quick.
That's the one good thing about a Dragster. Well, I think there's multiple good things, but my favorite is being able to just take body panels off and get them out of the way. So right now I'm taking the diaper off of it. This is not something you ever want to have to use, but if you were to blow the motor up, the diaper would likely catch everything. So you would not put any oil on the track.
What are you going to do after you take the headers off?
I gotta drain the water out of it, but that won't take long. And then at that point it's just gonna be unhooking any wires, unhooking the radiator hoses, just anything that is hooked to the motor that would hold it into the car. And the plan would be to leave the transmission right where it is, because when you run a mid-plate, you can do that. So if you can just grab up front, like right here, just hold up a little bit so it doesn't fall when I take all these nooses out.
Is these fiberglass or metal?
It's metal.
Feels like, yeah.
Now they make them all out of like carbon fiber, but oh, there goes all the Zeus's. Oh, there's So there's the radiators on these things are actually really small. This is about a 2-gallon bucket. I really don't think we're gonna fill it up, but race car water does get a tad rusty just because you don't have antifreeze in it, because antifreeze is the hardest fluid to clean up on a racetrack. So
They just want.
some people will run it, but we do not. Well, the oil and the water is draining. Headers are off, body panels are out of the way. Now we're going to start with getting all the throttle stop carburetor, throttle cable, all that out of the way. That way we can get the engine hoist in here and hook up to it. And then once we get that far, it won't be too long and we'll have this thing in the air.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where it landed on torque, but we did not build the motor. The last owner did. And we bought it with about 30 runs on it. I got some return springs hooked to it. There we go. Alright. So this here is a throttle air solenoid hooked directly into the throttle cable, and basically what it used to do was I used it as a throttle stop for NHRA super comp racing. I switched away from this setup, so I have it collared off so it cannot move at all. And I actually bought a used throttle stop from somebody that utilizes blades that actually close under the throttle stop. And so these air solenoids will fire it, and it'll fire and shut the blades off under the carburetor while my throttle cable is still wide open. And I switched that over about September this year, and I had really good results. And so I believe I'm going to stick with that going into next February. And so I will take this completely off at this point. I will no longer need it. I will just have a throttle cable hooked directly to the carburetor, and then this contraption under the carburetor is my throttle stop.
Okay.
So when I leave the starting line, this will be wide open. That's my throttle. And this solenoid here will immediately open, and it will shut the throttle blades off down here while the carburetor is still wide open. So when I let go of the Trains brake, it shuts and opens right back up at whatever the timer I have set into it to run an 890 in the quarter mile. And that usually is about 185 miles an hour. So at the moment I have 1.47 seconds from the moment it shuts the throttle blades off to the moment it goes wide back open again. So given that number, that would be when I ran an 8th mile super comp race, which is a 570 in the 8th mile index, because my quarter mile number would be closer to about 2.5 seconds.
Okay.
Alright. So one thing we will do over the off season, so this car was built in 2006. It has a lot of the original lines and stuff from 2006. I believe some of those being the fuel lines and the radiator lines. The fittings are not supposed to be this hard to turn. It makes it very much of a pain. We've had to switch this carburetor between rounds before. That was not fun with these grinding fittings. So every black line, braided line you see will be brand new when this motor goes back in. Well, I'm not 100% sure how the starter's wired. So instead of just cutting the power off, probably going to unhook the battery too, because
I'd do that.
I don't really want to arc anything out. Only took me 3 seconds to get that nut off. Somebody cross-threaded the nut that holds on the starter wire. That's fine.
No big deal.
I might put a new starter on it. I don't know how old this one is.
That's what that gold thing is right next to your eyes?
It's right here.
Okay.
I have no idea how old that one is. The starter bolts straight up on the block, and I guess you have to use these shims. Like that says 1/32 on it, and there's 2 of them. One of them's in the drain bucket. You have to use these shims to space it. That way it's at the right location on the flywheel. With a Chrysler car, the starter indexes into the transmission. So you don't ever have to use any type of spacer, adapter, whatever. So this is something I'm going to have to learn about, because this is the first Chevrolet motor we've ever had. So we'll have to figure that one out. Oh, that's great. Was that the socket? Dang it. I dropped one of the starter shims into the drain bucket, so that was the main Chevrolet comment.
The existence of a starter.
Yeah.
What have you done wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just Chevrolet. That's it. I don't know how old this thing is. I figured there'd be something stamped on it saying the manufacture date or something. I guess it really doesn't look that old, because I feel like that sticker would be more messed up. So we had to pause operation yesterday. We were just going on this thing, getting it out, and right before we lifted it out, we realized we did not have an engine cradle for it, because we've never had a Chevrolet motor. So called Nesbitt Performance up. He had a couple in stock, so I went over and got one this morning, and we are about to take it out now. Okay, so we have everything loose to get this thing out of here, we took so the only thing that holds this motor on is just these saddles right here. One or two on the front, two on the back, and just those stainless hose clamps. So we took the hose clamps loose on the front. We're actually leaving the transmission in the car. We didn't really see a reason to have to take it out. It's brand new. So we're going to slide the motor out, leave the transmission, and we have these bolts ready. That way we can bolt the transmission back up to the mid plate, and they can just stay there during the off season. So here we go.
So what's going to happen from here?
From here?
Yeah, the motor out.
Well, what time is it? Well, unfortunately, Nesbitt closes in 17 minutes. So it will not make the trip over there today. So, here we are. We got the motor out on this stand. However, we only drained the radiator and totally forgot to drain the drain cocks on the side of the block. So we made a mess, but it's just water. It'll dry up.